Welcome to VAFA Tragics. I couldn't be more excited. It's the end of the year, it's finals time, the summer's changed. As we say, a very good evening to Marty Callagher.
Andrew, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I've got a little surprise for you in just a second. Will Barn, how are you?
Fantastic, absolutely pumped.
I think you snuck into the seniors on the weekend, didn't you?
I did, played the seniors, had a loss, but yeah.
But you said you were best on, you said.
No, I didn't.
There's definitely finals in the air, because the three guys next to me, Brent and Man, you're another one. You're possibly going to be playing in finals next week.
It'd be a long shot, but yes, possibly. But I think I'm just going to put my feet up, I think.
At this point, if you're trying to get yourself into the senior team, what do you do? Try and give a corky to a teammate in the same position on the track, or?
Yeah, just take him right out. Yeah, just take him right out. But hasn't worked for me during the year, but so I don't think I'm going to start now.
Right, let's move into it, straight onto it. And Marty, I said last week, Darcel and St Bernard's, I have a present for you. Wash my head. The Darcel lid is off.
It hasn't just lifted off, it's blown off.
Sorry, it should be more expansive. The Darcel lid is off. Hope that's up the right way for you at home. The Darcel's lid off. In the four for the first time this year, and morals to make finals. Premiership favourites. Premiership favourites.
Yes, flag favourites.
Right, I've had enough of that.
You've beaten the top two sides in the last 2 weeks.
The form line has been quite good. Yeah, the form line's been okay.
I'm not sure. I need to move this bucket, but we might just leave the lid.
Just the lid.
Just the lid off, just to show that the lid's off. Show if anyone's tuning in.
In racehorse parlance, you're three in. You've got some cover. You're coming into the straight, and you're just getting really ready to pounce.
Oh.
That was a good win against St Bernard's side, but some worrying signs for St Bernard's. I guess if we quickly reflect on those, they had a few players out, so they might have rested a few, strategically going into this game. We said about Old Trinity the week before, maybe it was a loss they needed to have.
And I did pose that question, would it have been a loss that St Bernard's needed to have? The other thing too I'm probably going to ask is, didn't they rest players last year, St Bernard's?
They did. But in the final round of the year, they took 11 players out of their 22, so this is maybe a bit more methodical.
Yeah, yes, yep. Look, it was a terrific game of footy, and I will be honest, it was probably one of the best games of footy I've seen of amateur footy in a long time. Game was very quick. I mean, obviously the conditions were absolutely ideal for football. It was a slight breeze pushing across the ground at Delar, so no end was favoured. Ground was in terrific condition, really hard and firm, and both sides like to play quick football, get it moving, get it out into the open where they can use their leg speed. It was a tremendous game of football to watch. It's a really good advert for amateur footy.
Merrington hamstring concern for him. That's a possible worry for St Bernard's.
Yes, yeah, in the context of it, but look, it didn't look a severe one. It probably looked more to be a one, and it was very much get him off straight away. He felt it. He wasn't assisted off the ground, but certainly didn't jog off, and they iced him straight away in the second quarter.
Could be cramp, maybe, possibly.
Gee, he must have had a big night the night before.
Maybe, you never know. Sometimes there's cramp.
There were other games, of course, the results. Will, you had a look at Zavs and Old Trinity. Old Trinity seemed to do as they liked in the opening exchanges, and Zavs fought back at the end, which could prove vital coming into next week.
That's right, I think that was a big story out of the game, the late goals for the Zavs. They were down by 39 points at half-time, so it was pretty much over at that stage. For Trinity, I mean, Steinhardt, Ben Howe, Ned Hunt, just the old firm, well, they're young blokes, but I mean, they've been in the system for a while now. They were just terrific, and they were too good for the Zavs. But yeah, at the end, I think Matt Hanley missed a couple of goals that could have reduced the margin to a little less than that, than the end result, which was 41 points. So Hanley might be kicking himself.
Marty.
I was just going to ask a question. That's twice now that Old Zavs have saved a bit of respectability this season against Old Carey. If you remember earlier in the year, they were
100 points down with 20 minutes to go.
And somehow were able
lost by 60. Yeah.
Right, kick a lot of goals very quickly at the end to bring about a veneer of respectability again this week.
Yeah, and who would have known that those goals at the end of the Old Kerry game would have saved them?
We'll go into the full ramifications for those matches in just a moment. We'll just quickly get through the matches. Of course, a huge relegation battle on our hands. We'll talk about it in just a moment. The other game, Collegians and Old Carey. Collegians kept their season going as they stormed away from Old Carey at the start of the third quarter. It was a highly impressive Collegians, back to their best when they were making that run on the way to September last year. Shura Taff back on the score sheet as well with 4 goals. And James Jorgensen doing as he pleased in the defensive half, just taking mark after mark, as we've seen so often over the last decade. For Old Carey, they dropped out of the 4 for the first time since round 4 this year. They've been in that top 4 for 14 of the 17 weeks, and I don't see them getting back in. So a sad end to their season, the way they've fallen away, but well done to Collegians for getting the win they needed. Brenton, you had a quick look at Beaumaris, and they had a bit of respectability to the end of their season as well.
They did. It was close to their best performance of the year. They held sway early, but it was Blacks just edged clear over the remaining 3 quarters. But Bowie in the last quarter, they got 5 points up with about 20 minutes to play, but Blacks just stormed home with the last 3 goals and just had a little bit more class around the ball.
Blacks still, of course, have finals on the line. We'll talk about that going into this game this weekend as well. The final game of the round was Uni Blues and Old Scotch, and Scotch, after some good form in recent weeks, weren't able to continue on their way against Uni Blues. They fell badly in the end to Blues, and Blues looked to be gathering some real momentum.
I mean, the big story out of the game apparently was Jack Bull was reported for a sling tackle. So, I mean, other than that, the game was pretty much played out with Uni Blues taking control early.
But also McKinley's done a hamstring, which probably doesn't help given what's occurring. Coming up.
Yeah, well, we can't wait any longer. Let's move straight into the games this week. So excited about this. I think this is arguably the biggest game in William Buck, or certainly in William Buck Premier history. It's only been around for a year. But in Premier section history in the last decade, maybe 15 years, Marty, you'll be able to tell me, is this the biggest home and away game? Old Scotch versus Old Zaverians, round 18. Of course, if Collegians win over Blacks, which they need to do to ensure their safety in William Buck Premier, the winner of this game arguably sends the other one down.
Oh, isn't the irony of that just delicious when we think about it? And, I mean, really, you couldn't ask for any more. Although you're wanting to be purist about it in terms of football, this is why the amateurs, with that 2 up, 2 down, is such a great competition. Yeah. There is enormous stakes for both clubs. When we think about it, it's almost unthinkable for the Old Zaverians in their recent history, and Scotch 35 years within A section or Premier as it is now, you'd be I just want to ask a question. Well, it is really. I mean, I just need to ask: can we book a table at the lunch?
Well, I've heard Yarra Trams are putting on extra trams to Camberwell Sports Ground as well. Such is the demand for this game. This could be the biggest. This could dwarf the crowd sizes for finals. Of course, we've got division finals coming up. 2 bitter rivals, Old Scotch and Old Zaverians. I'm sure there'll be huge numbers there. I wouldn't be surprised if they get the schools on board to get them down. This is an unbelievably big match. Of course, they played in grand finals in the 90s and also finals in the early 2000s. But relegation carries so much more, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, when you think about it, one club is absolutely gutted, the other is ecstatic, as if it is almost that there is a sense of relief. And look, neither club would have seen themselves in this position at the start of the season. That's the beauty of it, is that right now there are. Oh, look, you know, this almost needs to be a Sunday game. This needs to be a standalone
game. Camberwell will be shut down. It's a sensational entree as well to what's going to be a great final series in William Buck Premier.
Yeah,
let's just quickly go through what the ramifications are, or how it works. So for Old Scotch to be relegated, we'll work on the premise of Old Scotch Collegians or Old Zaverians can all be relegated, depending on results on the weekend in round 18. For Old Scotch to be relegated, they will lose. If they lose to Old Zavs, they go down Old Scotch. For Collegians to be relegated, they need to lose to Uni Blacks and Old Scotch need to win. And for Old Zaverians to be relegated, they need Collegians would have to win, and Old Scotch would need to beat Old Zaverians by 28 points. So that's the margin situation there. So if Old Scotch just need to make up 28 points on Zavs and Collegians win, then Old Zavs would be almost unthinkable, relegated down to Premier B.
The nerves amongst the supporters would probably be palpable. I mean, if you think about it, the players, probably not quite so much, because in many ways they just go out and they play the game, and yes, there'll be mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes on the ground at any given time. A missed handball, a drop mark, but the supporters will be the ones that will be almost beside themselves. They will actually create an enormous atmosphere, which really is terrific. And I know that I'm taking delight in it. However,
You can't stop smiling.
well,
You can't tell. You can't tell, Marty.
no.
Maybe
but-
we should move this lid down to your end.
However, no, but when you think about it, isn't this is the perfect scenario for every club in the amateurs, that this is a game that almost distills.
39 premierships between the three clubs that could potentially go down in the top section of the VAFA. 39 premierships. I'll say that again.
Three powerhouse clubs
Yep.
of the amateurs.
Yep.
If we think about it, in the 35-year unbroken streak in the top level.
24 years for Zaz.
Right, and 12 premierships in that particular time. Collegians, 5 of the last 7 grand finals, and the most successful club in the history of the amateurs. This is, you couldn't write a better script in many ways.
Absolutely.
There's one man to blame too. You stand to my left.
He is.
Yep.
After his prediction.
After his prediction,
You
Zaz,
are
look,
Nostradamus.
Yep.
I never said the old Zaz would get relegated, but I should have, because I would have been a genius. But
They're not there yet. Of course, the other game is Collegians and Blacks. Will, this is well, you tell me about it. It's okay. It's gay. It's okay game.
that's right. It's a gay, it's okay game. It's been organised. The University Blacks, who have done a lot of initiatives. I mean, Simon Hogan's been so important with the Thick and Thin initiative. Anyway, with Lockie Beaton, who is an openly homosexual man who plays at University Blacks, him and his brother Charles have organised this game, and they'll be wearing specifically coloured rainbow Guernseys. They're playing Collegians. Mainly, it's just to open the conversation. You know, gay, it is okay, and it's a fantastic initiative by University Blacks, and well supported by Collegians as well. So, well done to the Beatons, and well done to University
The
Blacks.
VAFA has been a leader in this area for a long time. Sean Towner, of course, the captain of Pegs, of course, has written a couple of open articles published in both the Age and Herald Sun about the fact that he is homosexual as well, and he's very much welcomed and loved and adored by his club at Pegs, and was heavily involved in, I think it's the Gay Pride Cup that's played in the Yarra Valley Football League as well.
Still, there's actually a bit riding on this game too. When we think about
Massive.
it, not just from the Collegians' perspective, but Blacks are still in that hunt for the 4th spot too. So again, here's another game that has real meaning across the round.
Well,
You'll beat Bowie.
De La Salle, of course, have Beau Morris in the other game. Now, Beau Morris have been pretty good last week.
They were very good last week.
Very good. But if De La Salle, Marty, I want to ask you this. Where's that game? Is it
It's at the aquarium.
at the aquarium? So if De La Salle are up by 10 goals at half time, which they, invariably the way they're going, if they are, do half of
Are we in a parallel universe? Never been 10 goals up anywhere.
have I been wrong since we started spruiking the fact that De La Salle could make finals 5 weeks ago?
No, but now you're actually getting into the realms of ridiculousness. 10 goals up. Bowie have been competitive, and they've obviously regrouped to the extent that they want to leave with their heads held high. There's nothing worse than whimpering away the season.
Well, let's not say it's 10 goals, but if there's a decent margin on the board at half time, do you think half of the crowd of De La Salle supporters might make their way up to Campbell just to enjoy a bit like the Colosseum? Just back in the Roman days, just watch a bloodbath, possibly between Old Scotch and Old
Thumb up or the thumb down. Where do you go for
Will be rid of this one.
Do you think there'd be people from other clubs wanting to do that as well? No, look, it's probably no. I think that at the moment, look, no. But honestly, people's phones will be
Checking
glued to
live scores.
Absolutely.
Before we move on to Premier B, I should mention the VAFA Grand Final lunch. It's coming up at the Grand Hyatt. Lee Matthews is, of course, the guest speaker this year. Mark Thompson did a brilliant job on the day that the Essendon supplement saga was handed down in the High Court. Mark Thompson was in there at the lunch. I'm not sure Lee Matthews has got anything lined up along those lines, but I'm sure he'll be a fantastic guest speaker at the Grand Final lunch. You can still get your tickets through the VAFA website for that. Also, the Woodrow Medal takes place and VAFA Awards Night on the Wednesday night at Crown. That's on the 16th at Crown, the Grand Final lunch on the 18th at Crown. Premier B, it's all happening in the bottom end of Premier B as well. The four's been locked down for a couple of weeks, but the relegation battle there continues.
Absolutely. I mean, Mazenod pulled off a huge upset against Old Melbournians on the weekend, and now they look like they're going to survive. I think they will survive in Premier B, which is a magnificent effort because they looked shot a few weeks ago, and I believe it's the Parkdale Vultures who are now in relegation zone, and they're struggling. So
Well, they'll go in as 50-50 shot against Hampton Rovers this week, and there's less than 1% separating Masnod and Parkdale, I believe.
It's
So
a game and 0.5%.
is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're a game behind, but only 0.5%
Half percent difference. So it's going to be down to the wire. And I think
I mean, we've already
Parkdale-
seen that, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about that later on, but we've already seen what can actually happen when unexpected losses perhaps occur.
Caulfield Grammarians is the sad story, I guess, from Premier B. They get relegated after hanging on late last year. They went down, losing on the weekend. In Division 1, it's time to talk... Oh, sorry, Premier C, I've missed out then. Premier C, Brendan, tell us about Premier C and what's happening in the relegation race there.
Well, Theory play Pegs this week, but they need to make up an enormous 16% on Old Campbell to hold on. I don't think they're going to make that. It's a fair old margin. They're going to have to beat Pegs by. But Pegs are the bottom of the ladder, but they haven't been bad over the last month. But yeah, 16% is a bridge too far, I think.
That was a
And they'll be headed to
disappointing
Div 1.
loss on the weekend for Theory,
Yeah,
really,
so
wasn't it?
they've had a disappointing year. I think they'll go back to Div 1 and regroup. They're too proud of a club not to. And they're
they've
still...
got some young kids in their under-19
Yeah.
side who will be able to filter through. And again, I think that clubs build from beneath,
Yeah.
or they should. I mean, the better clubs tend to build from beneath with the kids coming through. And I think that if they can feed a couple of those boys through.
The other one in Premier C, of course, is Old Haileybury looking to clinch a finals berth in 4th spot. They must, of course, beat Old Campbell to ensure that. If they lose to Old Campbell, Peninsula have a chance. They play, of course, the top of the table, Marsland, in the final round. And Peninsula, with a superior percentage, could sneak in if Haileybury lose and they get up over Marsland. Again, a tough ask given the form line that we've seen so far this year.
Although, if you think about it, Old Haileybury's percentage is less than 100.
They're plucky. Old Haileybury are plucky.
On to finals. Let's have a look. It's finals time in the divisions. Fantastic to see your side there, Will. Q taking on Ormond in the second semi-final at Sports Cover Arena. Great to have Division 1 finals back at Sports Cover Arena on Saturday.
absolutely, it's looking in great nick actually, Sports Cover, as we look over the great ground that it is. It'll be a fantastic day for Division 1 footy. Ormond and Q take on each other in Division 1 and Division 1 Reserve, and then Old Geelong and St Mary's in the elimination final. I'm sort of pushing it away from Ormond and Q to that game because they played in round 18 as well, Old Geelong and St Mary's. And St Mary's Salesian pulled off an upset there. Ooh, it's a very exciting time for Division 1.
Marty, you had an interesting question about Q and their form this year.
Now, we'll actually ask our Nostradamus, Will. Every loss this year that Q has had, the gun forward, Brazali hasn't played. Is he playing this week? Can you answer that? Or is there a correlation between, is there no Brazali, no Q?
Whew, that was emphatic.
Or is it a case of, Marty, something
I think
Q?
you have to wait for selection on Thursday.
Well,
That sounds like.
Wait for selection, but obviously Brazali is extremely important. He's a wonderful footballer. But I know we can win without him.
You can cover him. Well, can you cover both of them? Seriously, I'm speaking serious here. They've been two of the best forwards in Div 1 and nearly in the comp. They've been fantastic this year.
Can Will Barm stand up?
You'll have to...
I don't think they'll put me up forward. I'm not good under pressure in front of goals.
We'll move on. Division 2, they're playing their semi-finals on the Sunday. Old Paradians hosting Northern Blues in the first semi to be played at Highgate, and Ivanhoe and St John's in the second semi at St Bernard's College. It's a long drive out to St Bernard's, Brenton. Are St John's going to be able to take on Ivanhoe out there?
Pack lunch?
To pack more than a lunch out in the snake pit. It's going to be a very tough ask for us. Well, from what I've heard about Ivanhoe, they've been concentrating on us for the last 6 weeks. And it showed in our loss to them, not last week, week before. So it's going to be a very, very tough ask. They've beaten us twice this year, quite convincingly. They're the only team we haven't beaten this year. But I think we can get there. I'm not sure if we're going to get there in the first final, though.
So I just want to ask a question. Your Smoky actually did sneak in.
Yes, they did.
Northern Blues.
Northern Blues did sneak in.
So they're playing...
They
They're
won
playing
premiership tip at the start of the year.
Yes,
Yeah.
Old Paradians at Highgate Reserve, and I would tip them to get over Paradians. They beat Paradians at Garvey Oval, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Right.
So I think Northern Blues will beat them in that elimination final.
Northern Blues final specialists haven't lost a final in their 2 years in the VAFA so far.
And both sides are in for Northern, I think, aren't they? And they've got their under-19s in.
In Division 3, we've got, of course, the three qualifying finals, Emmaus St Leo's and UHSVU. West Brunswick playing Swinburne, and the third one, of course, is Aquinas and Hawthorn taking on each other. Thank you very much, Will. Maybe just a quick tip there, who we think is going to win all those games. Of course, Emmaus St Leo's the only one guaranteed a double chance. The double chance, of course, if Emmaus win, goes to the next lowest loser, or the next highest loser.
Now the top 6, I think 3 versus 4 is always the game to watch. And Hawthorn have won 6 on the trot. They're playing Aquinas, who had a big loss against West Brunswick on the weekend. I think Hawthorn will pull off an upset there. And in the other 2 games, I think Emmaus, St Leo's and West Brunswick will win.
That said, though, they did push the unbeaten side 2 weeks,
They
2 to 3 weeks ago, and were unlucky to lose. So did they rest players? On the
Big
weekend?
risk to...
Well,
yeah.
I know, but
I suppose.
I just throwing it out there.
Just throwing it out there. You're flying a kite instead of catching the wind.
And Britain in Division 4, Canterbury, North Brunswick play on the Saturday, as do Point Cook and Box Hill North, whilst the 4th game there is Westbourne Grammarians and Parkside. Parkside, congratulations to them, of course, in their first year back in the VAFA, making finals.
I will pick Canterbury over North Brunswick, and I'll pick Point Cook over Box Hill North, and I think Westbourne will get over Parkside.
Fair enough. That's the finals there. That's how we see it so far. Time now for good call, good day, good call back. What show are we on? Good day, bad day.
Because you had a bad day.
Okay, I actually did scour the record books today, and a good day was actually Ormond under-19s in Section 3. They defeated St Bernard's in their last home and away game, and went into the 4th spot to play finals coming this week. And a bad day was in under-19 Section 3. Hampton Rovers. They lost to Old Carey by 1 point and went from 4th to 5th because on a difference of 0.22%. So a bad day for Hampton Rovers. Unfortunately for them, it is heartbreaking, isn't it?
That's
But,
so tough going into finals. Will?
Yes.
I had, good day, of course, City of Camberwell, but we've already mentioned that.
That's coming up. Actually, the parking inspectors will make a fortune.
Absolutely will.
But it's also a good day for Old Westbourne, who knocked off Canterbury, the only one of the 3 undefeated sides in the VAFA. They lost by 20 points, and Westbourne showed a lot with a good spread of goal kickers. It was a bad day for the Old Zaverian Crocs, who were going for 4 premierships in a row. And they got beaten easily by the Spartans, who they beat in the qualifying final by 4 points. Disappointing day for the Zavs.
Brenton.
Good day for me was Northern Blues sneak into the finals in the last round. And yes, they are my Smoky in the finals. And bad day, Old Eltham needed to beat Ivanhoe to make the 4. They kicked 13-24 and kicked themselves out of the finals.
Good day for me, Masala. Fantastic to see them get their 2nd win of the year in their first senior year in the competition, and it was a great way to sign off a debut senior year in football, defeating South Mornington for their 2nd win. Bad day, Caulfield Grammarians. In fact, it ends a bad year. The reserves forfeited in the game. They've got 1 more week to go next week, and they lost to St Kevin's by about 130 points, and will be relegated back to Premier C. Will, he's had a few predictions that have come right, a few not, but let's have a look at his crystal ball. Will Barnes' predictions.
Here we go. I actually am trying out for the Woodrow Medal count. I'm going for it, so I'm going to do the Premier medals. And we're going to start with the Premier C section, and it is a Zachariah medal. And I'm going for Bortolotto from Marcelin, had a fantastic year. Premier B, Stephen Salopek from St Kevin's has been by far and above the best player in the league. Phil Edgar's a smoky though. Wonderful small forward midfielder as well. And then in Premier section, I think it'll be 3 votes, Adam Bentic, St Bernard's.
And Will's also picked the $1.20 favourite in every race on the weekend as well. You can get his racing tips and his tips for those medals.
Good to see you put your neck out.
Nate Fife will win the Brownlow.
Good segue into Marty Callagher's wine of the week.
And this week we actually bring back the Delfaris label again, and it's a Sangiovese, a lovely, soft, easy drinking wine. And on a night like tonight, where it's just slightly chilled, slightly chilly in the air, this would be a wonderful accompaniment with with a wood-fired pizza. So, looking for some of that, get in contact with me, and you'll enjoy that lovely wine. Now, my wine actually is directed at the amateurs.
Oh, this is interesting. Haven't
Yes.
had a shot at the VAFA for a while.
Well, I got into trouble the last time I did. However, I'm offering them a chance to redeem themselves. Why have they not decided to play Old Zabs versus Old Scotch? Why have they not had the foresight to play Old Zabs versus Old Scotch here at Sports Cover Arena on Sunday, standalone, $10 entry? I'm sure that the supporters of both clubs can afford that. Unroll and roll out again the famous Wick Burger. That would almost solve the national deficit of Australia if we did that. Imagine that down here. That'd be terrific if we could do that.
5,000, 6,000, do you reckon you get here?
Look, Old Scotch will be able to actually. They'll be able to extend. You know that old stand? They'll be able to do that up now.
I'm not sure Old Scotch should give up their home ground rights, and of course they've got injury concerns of their own. Zab's got a few coming back apparently as well. Final one to sign off on the island trip. 20 rep players aside, played rep footy, or not you, Will, or have been.
You only said rep footy. You didn't say reprehensible.
Or have played rep footy, or have been captain, or been won a best and fairest. Then get in contact with the VAFA. They'd love to have you on the tour to Ireland. It's about $4,500 to pay your way over there, and it's just one of the great experiences in representative football to join that tour to play the All Ireland side amongst many others in international rules. Gents, I can't wait for Saturday. It's huge. I know that it'll be live streamed. I think the Old Scotch Old Zavarians game will be live streamed on the VAFA website, as will Collegians and University Blacks. So if you can't get to the games, I'm sure the numbers will be huge on the website to view those games. Have we got a tip?
It might go into meltdown. The website might go into meltdown.
Final tip. Who's going down? In a word.
I'm going with the Old Zabs because I've been harsh on them. I think Old Scotch are going to get relegated.
Marty?
Yeah, look, I think Old Scotch. I think, yeah, there's just not enough depth there, so I'm going to have to go with Old Scotch.
Brenton?
I'll go play devil's advocate. Zabs. They need to just have a
Collegians win,
They need to
Scotch win
hands
by
out.
5
They need
goals, and
hands
Zabs go down.
Yep.
I think it might be the Cardinals a year to spend some time in Premier B next year. On that note, we'll leave it there, guys. We'll talk about it all next Monday on The Tragedy.
VAFA TV at vafatv.com.